and in doing so, it inflicts considerable damage to trees. But trees are not totally defenseless. Acacia trees have evolved sharp spines along their branches. In effect, they protect their leaves with barbed wire. Such a tree, bristling with long, sharp needles, would seem well protected from ordinary browsing animals. But the giraffe is no ordinary browser. Its extraordinary prehensile tongue can lick its way through the barbed wire. Its unusually furry lips and thickened palate allow it to swallow the thorns whole. And while its thick hide protects it from being stabbed on the outside of the body, miraculously, its insides are not pierced either. Thorns that pass through its digestive system reappear unchanged and needle-sharp in its droppings. But the arms race between browsing animals and the plants they eat is fought on many fronts, and some plants have opted for less visible defences. These leaves look green and tempting, but in fact they're booby-trapped. Each one is loaded with poison. As the leaves grow, their cells fill with tannin, a chemical weapon widely used and stockpiled by plants. When eaten in large quantities, it can kill. But somehow giraffes are still able to feed happily on these toxic trees. They've developed a response to this chemical defense. They fight back by slobbering. Their saliva contains an antidote to tannin. Neutralizing the toxins takes a lot of saliva, and then they can't help but dribble. But the war is not over yet. Whistling thorn trees have found a way of recruiting miniature armies to fight on their behalf. They develop galls on their branches. Biting ants make their homes in the galls, and from them mount regular patrols along the thorny branches. Each ant is on the lookout for parasites and leaf-eating insects which could damage the tree. And in return for this work, they're rewarded by the plant with food from nectaries at the tips of the branches. Here they are perfectly positioned to attack any browsing animal that visits the tree looking for a meal. And the giraffe is one of them. As soon as the giraffe touches the tree, the alarm goes up and the ants burst into a frenzy of activity. Reinforcements pour out of the galls and stream along the branches, their abdomens raised in full battle mode. The ants investigate every inch of the tree, releasing a chemical war cry into the air as they go. An attack by an animal the size of a giraffe requires a major response. The ants launch themselves from the tips of the branch and swarm over the giraffe's face and neck. Even so, it's only when they actually get onto its gums and up its nose that they can finally bite. Then the giraffe begins to feel the pinch and stops feeding. So although the ants don't stop the giraffe damaging the tree to some extent, they do force it to move on before it would like to. In addition to its continuing war with the ants, a giraffe has a few personal problems of its own. One of them is how to pump blood up to a head that is 3 meters, 10 feet above its heart. That demands generating a blood pressure which would be dangerously high in humans. To do this, the giraffe has to have an enormous heart, and this creates the highest known blood pressure of any mammal. But however high the blood pressure is at the top of the giraffe's neck, at the bottom of its body it reaches even greater levels under the force of gravity. By rights, this should give the giraffe very swollen ankles. But the giraffe copes with this danger by having very tight skin around its legs. In effect, it wears its own support tights.